I have been fortunate in my life to have seen the impact of the arts directly on students and on teachers and on schools. And so I've had a fortunate life. In my own classroom, when I was a classroom teacher, I was an English teacher, and I had some students. I had a very, very tough class one year. And I went and I learned something called drama education. And I came back, and of course I was a high school teacher. And most people think of high school teachers as not wanting or being willing to integrate. But I had just learned this thing called creative drama. And I wanted to begin integrating it with this class. I was having a very difficult time with this particular class of juniors. And all of a sudden, my class just blossomed. The whole climate of my classroom changed. And these students that I had been given that were getting C's and D's were all of a sudden getting B's and C's and some A's. And the principal came in to me and he said, "What's going on in your classroom?" Now, this was a time before high-stakes testing. This was a time when teachers could really experiment with curriculum, and we weren't using any type of a pacing guide. Principal came in and said, "What's going on in your classroom?" I said, "Well, I don't know. You know, in my world, I was just teaching and using, of course, some different methodology, but I just thought of that as good teaching." And he said, "Well, next year, we're giving you the same class, but we're putting it the last period of the day." And they did that because the students didn't cut my class. So here were these students that all of a sudden found learning to be a joy. Their grades were going up, and I discovered the power of the arts in being integrated with the rest of the curriculum. So past that journey, I've been out and working in a lot of schools and working in a lot of K-8 programs in the Chicagoland area, and doing a lot of work in helping teachers integrate the arts. I started with my own art form, which was theater, and integrating theater in the classroom. Of course, that was a joy for me, but then I wanted to learn about the other art forms. I wanted to learn about music and dance and visual arts. And could those art forms have the same impact on students that I was seeing with the dramatic art forms? And of course, the results were similar. I've also had the opportunity in my life to go into schools and begin to work with whole school change in the arts, where schools have wanted to turn around and they have decided they've wanted to become a magnet school for the arts. And I've gone into these particular schools. Now, you might think that these schools were from the upper class neighborhoods, but no, most of these schools are from inner city with struggling students, and they have begun to integrate with the arts. I went into a school a couple of years ago in Chicago, and I started working with the 4th and 5th grade teachers in integrating drama with writing. It was very specific. We had looked at the data of the school. We had seen that students were struggling with writing. We chose drama to integrate with that particular academic area. The teachers and I planned together. We created lessons together. And I went in for a number of weeks, 6 to 12 weeks. And the next year, the principal came and she said, "We need this woman back in our school because our scores went way up in those grade levels in writing on the state tests." So I've had wonderful experiences where I've gone in that have made me a believer. So it's not just in my looking at data coming from other places, but from my being able to see it firsthand in the classroom. In this particular classroom, I was teaching Of Mice and Men with the students, and they were studying the novel Of Mice and Men. And when we were studying themes in the novel, we were studying character, we were studying conflict, we were studying story elements. And the students, instead of just reading about it, we were getting up and we were enacting, and we were dramatizing the characters, we were pulling out the themes. They were having to do drama activities that would show me that they understood the material rather than just writing me a paper about it. Of course, they had to write the paper too, but they were getting to show me in alternative ways what they understood. What's very interesting about this, kind of a personal story about it, I had one student in that class who had always been given Fs from the time he was in 5th grade. And he was in this classroom, and he came in as a very sullen, hating school type of young man. And he ended up getting, I believe, a B from me. It's hard for me to remember the exact grade that he got, and I'm not even concerned about the grade. This is what I'm concerned about. I found him on Facebook about 3 weeks ago, and he and I were writing, and he had down, what is your favorite book of all time? You know, you put on Facebook, you put, what do you read, what's your favorite books? And he had Of Mice and Men is my favorite book. Not only that, he went on to college. I didn't know that he had done that, and he's working as a manager of a store, running a store. Here was a man, a young boy that everybody thought would fail. But because I took the time to integrate in the classroom, here was one life turned around.